Afternoon, John. How are you?
I'm good, Neil. Just dried off.
Yes, pretty ugly out there. Um, can you give us, first of all, an injury update? I guess Richie would be the one that people are most interested in. Will he be available?
No, he will travel with the team this week, but we won't put him on the roster, the active roster for the game on Wednesday. So we'll manage him through. The expectation is Richie will start against. We'll play minutes against DC United. That's been the plan. So this week he's ramping up. He'll hit all his sort of final check boxes and put a real intense training week in. But we'll travel with the team, so he's ready to go against DC.
And I was also wondering about Shane O'Neill and whether you have any other injury concerns apart from Brandon.
We're monitoring Tyrese Spicer. Obviously had an abdominal issue coming out of the match, so we'll be monitoring him. He'll be questionable, I think, going into the game on Wednesday. We're just learning whether it's muscular or something different. So, and then the only other one would be Prince Owusu, who was just being monitored for a tight calf. So, couple of potentials, but nothing we're too concerned about at this stage. Shane's on his return to play. Sorry, he's still on the return.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
John next.
Hi, John. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us. Fede is back, obviously, from suspension this week. Maybe you just sort of speak to how big of a boost that is for the club, especially with 2 games in quick succession.
Yeah, I think it's a huge boost. I think, again, if we were able to have seen Fede this weekend, I honestly think that outcome would have been different. We came close, but sometimes it's that extra bit of quality that pushes you over the line. So, having him back and the leadership quality he's brought to the squad, his mentality, 2 tough away games. We watched him in Orlando, really help the team in some tough conditions. We're hoping that this week he's able to come back with that mentality and that strength to push us on a winning way again.
We'll go next to James.
Thanks, Nick. Hello, John.
Yeah, James.
What have you seen from Philly this year? What are you expecting from them on Wednesday night?
Yeah, I think in recent games they've become quite stingy. I think defensively they've really brought a commitment and focus to the defensive style of play. I mean, they've had some away games and being able to keep some clean sheets, which isn't easy. When I think DeAndre Blake was injured, that's a huge loss. So they've been able to, I think, stabilise and get back to maybe that championship track, which is keeping clean sheets. So we know they're going to be defensively tough, but I think when you're in their place, they're one of the most aggressive teams in MLS. They're going to be on the front foot. They're going to force you to be direct. They're going to be direct themselves in situations and rely on their real quality in Carranza and Gazdag. So, yeah, I think they're a tough team. They're a really tough team for us. But it'll be a good matchup. I think we need this type of game. We've been playing against teams that like to really dominate the ball and dominate the pitch. Teams like New York and Cincinnati. But this team, for me, are very pragmatic. They can go front to back very quickly and make it a very physical game. So we're getting ready for that and looking forward to it.
Go back to Neil next.
Thanks, Nick. John, your team scored 10 goals in the last 4 league games, but you've also conceded 10, which drops it to 21st in the league. what have you seen? What have been the danger signs in the last few games on defense?
Well, we looked at that today. It's not numbers, because we seem to get good numbers in and around the ball. It tends to be some decision-making elements. The players are assigned responsibilities, and we called it out in the meeting today. We looked at the centimetres on the attacking side that might have made the difference, whether it was 2 centimetres under the bar, 2 centimetres not offside, a player running an extra 3 metres to be on the end of a cross in the 99th minute, which normally were there, but it's meters on the other side. It's one of the goals, a player's 3 meters out of position, and it's that level of concentration, that level of discipline that championship teams are able to bring to games. Cincinnati conceded 3 goals, so I'm sure they'll be looking at their reality. But on our side, Montreal, I thought we were stingy enough in that game, but still gave them 1 or 2 good opportunities that we have to close that gap, and that seems to be the gap we've got to close now, Neil. I like a real intense focus on that defensive phase, particularly in our defending quarter. I think that those 2 goals where they're able to combine with less numbers than us, it comes down to concentration, it comes down to positioning, genuine, knowing your job and delivering your job in high pressure moments where you stay concentrated for, long periods of time. So, for us, that was the message today, and I think collectively as a group, they recognise it and they're welcoming it. They know we're growing, they know we're on a bit of a journey. As I say, last season, even at the beginning of the season, we weren't, slated to do much, but people were describing that as from what I could hear, as a heavyweights trading punches. So I think that's it was a good compliment to the lads, but as I say, to the players today, we got knocked out, and that doesn't help us on our quest to achieve our goals. So we've got to be able to evade those little knockout punches that top teams can muster up.
Thank you.
We'll go back to John next.
Thanks, Nick. John, this is the end of the grueling run for you guys, because you've already played 7 times since the beginning of the month. So this is going to be games 8 and 9. I'm just curious. I mean, how do you manage these 2 games in terms of squad rotation because you're dealing with a lot of tired players right now?
Yeah, I think up to this point, the cup games, we've been able to get good rotation. I think some of the injuries and suspensions have helped us, accumulate that bit of rest. It didn't help us in the moment where you're trying to achieve points, but certainly we've planned some good rotations. I think we're coming into this 2-game stretch where the lads, some of them are going to redline, there's no doubt, but we do have a bit of a safety net at the end of this, that there are a group of players that will get a good recovery window, and we'll give them that recovery window mentally, emotionally, physically, to clean up. And so we'll end up with almost a 13-12 day period where we'll be able to put people in recovery and focus on cleaning them up to get ready for the next grueling run. But they'll be pushed this week, John. I've got to push people to the red line minutes this week to get us back on track and to stay in that top 4 hunt.
We'll go back to James.
Thanks, Nick. John, you mentioned the other day observing some consistency in terms of the metrics or stretching back to the Orlando game. What are those trends that you're keeping an eye on? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I think the cumulative XG has been interesting for us. We've been tracking positively in that space. And I think when you look at some of our own internal markers, we have our own metrics that we know if we hit, you're going to be right there to winning games. And our home performances have shown we're right there. We're right there to win a football match. It's sometimes in the hands of the football gods that a ball will bounce one way or another, and we've been experiencing that, whether it was New York, I thought a soft penalty in that game, or this game against Cincinnati where, like I say, the width of a crossbar or the width of a shoulder on an offside, those things do make a difference in the top levels. So we're creating enough chances. As we're saying this week, we weren't happy with the opportunities we gave away. There's no doubt on that. And obviously, 3 goals against New York, 4 against Cincinnati. That's a trend that has to change. And there was some passion, I think, and emotion in the meeting with the players today from myself, Jason DeVos, in that space, because we start at the beginning of the season being hard to beat. Then we've encouraged the players to be brave with our attacking style of play and pushing them out of their comfort zones, getting players into areas that, they're really pushing new levels. But I think defensively, they're not transitional goals per se that we're conceding. 2 of those goals were from open play, build-up play, where I expect my players to do better. The little error from Raul and Tyrese, that's football. I mean, those mistakes happen across any team. But when Sean pulls off a big save and they get to that ball first, and we've got 4 players around that, we can't live with that. So, these are the little details that make a big difference. And I think if we're going to push that next level, that's the gap we're closing, James.
Go back to Neil.
Thanks, Nick. John, Jason DeVos is hard to miss among your coaching staff on the training field or during games. Obviously, we all know his own playing resume, but can you give us a sense of what he brings to the table? He seems to contribute a lot to your staff.
Yeah, I mean, he's been really growing in the role that he's taken on. I have to say that, because he's gone from being a technical director to a part-time coach with the national team coming into the women's or the men's environments, to then running strategic, missions, trying to reorganize an association. So I think for him to actually put his mind into full-time coaching was a bit of a transition. But he's grown massively. He has great character. He has solid values, Neil, and I think that's something the integrity of the man that he's held through his career. People know what you're going to get with Jason. It's very black and white, and I think for us, what he brings is his passion to that defensive part of the game. That's the job description for him. His role is keep clean sheets. He takes that very serious. And the work that he puts in behind the scenes, the hours, is around looking at opposition's defending strategy, attacking strategies, and helping us collate and helping me put together the final tactical blueprint. But I think it's the relationships he builds with the centre backs, Neil, that no one sees. These guys will run through a brick wall for Jason. They can take the hard criticism because they respect him. He's played at the highest level. He's captained his country. I haven't got enough good words to say about him, but also the work that he does behind the scenes here. And I'm sure his players would support that.
Thanks, John. Safe travels.
Thank you.
We'll go back to John.
John, just looking back at the Canadian Championship game last week, you gave Andre Dumitru his first start. This after giving him his debut off the bench in an earlier round. I just wanted to ask what you like about his profile as a player and what you see as his biggest growth opportunity going forward.
Yeah, I had a chance to work with the U19s and U17s when we first came into the building, because that little period of time taking over when we took over meant we could go deeper in to the organisation, and he was a player that caught my eye, and it caught my eye for a number of reasons. I think you look at his profile, which is athletic. We need that athleticism in a two-man midfield. He brings a box-to-box ability as well, so he has an engine. It's not just his size and sort of physical stature. He has a box-to-box ability. And then I was impressed. He had a feel of corner. And again, when you have the chance to work with top players, you're able to sort of draw parallels when you get to work with people. So probably after about 5 sessions, you got to see some consistency in the things that I liked about Ismail Cornier. His ability to sort of glide past pressure and change pace on a touch, so eliminate midfield lines, drive onto back lines. I really enjoyed that. But I think it was his match against Nashville in the pre-season. He came in and I think we were 2-0 up, and they were starting to get in control of the game, and he came in and had a 25-minute spell where he just showed a real maturity. So we kept him in for the pre-season, and he showed that he can manage the level, and he showed also that he's got maybe a ceiling that he could get up to the next level. So we're just monitoring him, John. I'm not a big fan of sort of fast-tracking young players to jump straight in and pick up first team minutes. I think, one of the perceptions from some of the leaders here was it was getting too easy for young players to grab a Toronto FC shirt. That rite of passage has got to be earned. So, I'd like to see him pick up more TFC 2 minutes and get some real experiences there, and, being able to perform well in that environment under that resistance is going to be important. And at the right time, getting more exposure with us. So, he's on he's had his last call up now. Our commitment to him would have to be a homegrown contract. So, that's the stage we're at, making those decisions, John, whether or not we would, take that next step with him, and he's still got a little bit more to show.
We'll have our final question with James.
Thanks again, Nick. John, Jesse March named his first Canadian squad this morning, 2 TFC players on that call-up. Comes at a decent time for you with the little break at the start of June, but what was it like being on the other side of those conversations this time?
Oh, I didn't see the call-up because I've been out on the sessions today. We're pretty busy, but, we've seen the comms come through last week, and yeah, I'm proud for those lads. I know what it means to them to represent their country, and, Richie's had a tough run, so I'm pleased Jesse put the trust in him, because he's a guy who loves playing for Canada. He gives his everything, and I've seen him reach special levels in that Canadian jersey. While he plays in MLS, when he plays for Canada, he's able to show he's got world-class ability. And I'd say the same for Azario. I'm happy for them. Really happy. It comes at a time for us in June where you'd love to have had that full squad available, but having been the guy that took players away from MLS clubs and not worried too much about it, being on the other end, you've just got to pat these boys on the back and wish them all the best.